unless you getting your job, making your paycheck is based on how you look, then don't worry about nutrition or fitness or exercise for looks. Just do it to be healthy. Everything else comes flowing afterwards all on its own. And nutrition is the biggest one because one of the phrases that's out there all the time is you cannot outrun the spoon. All right, you got to remember that one. There is no getting anywhere if you can't control your spoon, okay? But to that end, let's establish a couple ground rules too. Diet. Everybody is on a diet. Even if you say, oh, I'm not on a diet, yes, you are. You're on a diet. Your diet is the foods that you normally eat, okay? It doesn't have to be a special thing. It doesn't have to be an Atkins diet, or it doesn't have to be keto or any of that other stuff, okay? Your diet is what you eat. If your diet is normally pizza and cupcakes and soda, it's not the best diet, but that is your diet, okay? So when I mention the words diet, don't feel like I'm trying to tell anybody to go on a diet or get on a diet. That's not what it is. We're just trying to get people to think about how they view their normal eating habits and the normal nutrition they intake. Also, another thing to bear in mind, when it comes to nutrition and figuring it out, everybody's body is different. We're all human beings. We all have the same internal organs and everything else, but every body reacts differently to the fuel that you put inside of it, okay? So what might work for one person, or what I tell you up here, might be what I try to give are general guidelines, but they may not be very specific things that work for you, okay? Bear that in mind that when it comes to nutrition and diet, everything is experimental, and it is a long-term experimental process. There is nothing you can really do about your diet over the course of even a week that you're going to suddenly perform better, feel better, and all of your health is going to be off the charts. It doesn't work like that. It definitely takes some time. The other big one to consider at all times, and this isn't just with nutrition, but make sure you're getting a physical done every year. I need to say this a lot, and I say this a lot now as somebody who's getting older, and all of my relatives are getting older, and grandparents and everything else. One of the biggest reasons to focus on good nutrition and exercise is to build your body to a good base now while you can. So that when you get older and you're not able to move as much, and the idea of cooking nutrition isn't just up your alley, right? The idea is that you build a good, strong base for your body now where you are, so that as time goes on, things are a lot easier for you. And I say that mostly because there's been family passings and that. I'm sure we all have those same kind of experiences. Build yourself up healthy now for you and for everybody else around you. And that includes making sure that you get that physical, get that blood work done so that you know what's going on inside of you, specifically, especially with your healthcare provider. Make sure that you're getting your cholesterol levels checked, your glucose levels, all that stuff, okay? That's all the invisible things going on that you don't know about. And another guideline before we get into other nutrition and cooking and aspects like that, take a multivitamin, okay? I don't care how many videos you watch on the internet that say like, well, you get all your vitamins, and da, da, da. How many of you have eaten 5 vegetables today? Who did? Okay, I got a few. You've actually eaten like 5 servings of vegetables today. Did you also get your 4 servings of fruit? Did you also get your servings of protein and dairy and everything else? It's just insurance. Taking a multivitamin, you can literally get a big old box of them for $6. And it's not that much of an investment, okay? Get yourself a multivitamin, take it every day. It's just an insurance for when you can't get all of your nutritional needs throughout the day. That's one of my other big baseline things. So let's get into it. Guidelines, things, remember, everything here is a guideline. Nothing is a strict rule, okay? So if you have any questions anytime, feel free to ask and let me know, we'll go over it. But nutrition-wise, especially when we're trying to think about, we already have busy schedules, we already have our gaming time and everything else. I'm a single father of 2 kids, and I've got maybe 2 hours in the night if I want to have some game time and some decompression time. That includes reading a book or watching some TV or getting in the game time with my friends. I only have that much time and that's it. So I've got to focus on how I can do my nutrition quickly, efficiently, and have it be meaningful and cost-effective, as well as the other big thing. You will save so much money if you cook your own food. You will save so much fucking money if you cook your own food. It's a lot, okay? Guidelines that we're gonna go over here. Rules, general rule of thumb, if you're trying to lose weight, then you want half of your portion for your meal to be vegetables. okay? And you want 1/4 to be proteins and 1/4 to be complex starches, or complex carbohydrates is what I would call them. Simple carbohydrates I think of more as like dinner rolls, bread, pastas, things like this. These are simple carbs, okay? They break down super easy. It just puts quite a bit of sugar in your system. You don't think about carbohydrates as being sugars, but in processed foods here, especially in America, we put a lot of sugar inside of everything. And simple carbs work that kind of way in your body. If you take in too much of them, it just very easily goes to fat and goes to sugars. Now, don't confuse saying going to fat as that fats are bad for you. They're not. We'll get there. You need fats. We'll touch base with that. But the benefit of complex carbohydrates like potatoes, sweet potatoes, legumes, quinoa, brown rice, oats, all these things, it takes your body a little bit more extra energy to break them down. Okay, so that you're actually like utilizing energy to get energy, but you're getting more long-term energy out of what you're breaking down instead of simple carbs that you're getting from like breads and pastas. So when you're going looking for these ingredients in the store, I've got a phrase, stick to the edge of the supermarket, okay? Whenever you go into a grocery store, when you look around the edges of the grocery store, that's where all of your straight raw ingredients are, okay? You go to vegetables, you go meats, you go fruits, everything, dairy, all that, that's all on the edges. Everything on the inside is in a box or in a bag. If it's coming from a box or a bag that's processed foods, it doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but they're not necessarily the best either. No, I'm never gonna begrudge you if you wanna have some simple spaghetti and meatballs. Fuck, it's spaghetti and meatballs, have some, okay? But, you know, always just kind of bear in mind, like, what can you do to get your raw, straight ingredients from the edge of the grocery store instead of going down the middle and going down the aisles. Don't stop eating tacos either. That's down the middle. That's where you get your taco seasoning. That's where I find my tortillas. Hell yeah, I'm still having taco night. It's like, still do taco night. So let's talk about other things here. So I gave the rule of thumb about portion size for losing weight. Let's say you're in the opposite corner, you're actually trying to gain weight and you're trying to bulk up a little bit. Then we're gonna swap it around and half of your portion is going to be proteins. And 1/4 of your portion will be complex starches and 1/4 will be vegetables, okay? Because you're trying to bulk up what your muscles can do to repair and how quickly it can assist you in putting on weight, all right? General makeup of the foods you wanna make, like I said, we're not gonna worry about fats. This was a huge thing for a while, like fats are bad, we got it. And then it was like, oh, these are good fats, avocados are great fats, da da da. Fat is your body's energy system, okay? If you're not immediately burning carbs and sugars and things like this, your body is storing it in a layer of fat. And that's gonna be where you get your energy reserves. So one of the things I do in the morning is I go and do my workouts in the morning, and there's science behind that that shows how that can be beneficial because it digests your intramuscular fat, okay? Not necessarily your fat layer, and I've got my own little layer of fat going on around my spare tire area. I'm getting old, fuck. But it's in your muscles when you're working out in the morning on what they call fasted workouts. When you're working out from a fasted state, your muscles are drawing energy from the fat that's in between the cells in your muscle because the fats are where your energy is stored. So don't feel bad about having fats in your diet, okay? And there's always discussion on good fats versus bad fats, and saturated fat is bad for you. What the fuck, okay? So long as you're not guzzling the straight cooking oil, then you're gonna be fine, okay? Just don't do that. That does lead me to another rule of thumb, get rid of fried foods. Do not eat fried foods, okay? And I'm not saying never, you know, have at it on your cheat day, or if it's family get-together time or the holidays, like people, it's still 2019 for me. The new year does not ring in until the MAGFest hangover ends. So I got a couple more days of holiday season left in me, and I'm eating like cookies and having drinks galore and doing what I want because it's the holidays. Go for it. You know, come fair time, hell yeah, I'm gonna eat the deep fried Oreos. That stuff is good. But on a normal time, I am not eating. There he is, Robert V. Aldrich, thank you, sir. Robert V. Aldrich, ladies and gentlemen, author, fitness, also instructor. You too many accolades, I can't go far enough.
My name is Robert V. Aldrich. I'm here as a novelist and storyteller. However, for the purposes of this panel, I am also an oncology data analyst with the North Carolina Central Cancer Registry and the strength and conditioning coach for Tactical Kung Fu MMA's fight team, the absolute most successful MMA and boxing school in North Carolina to never actually produce a professional fighter, because all our fighters keep getting poached from us, but I'm not bitter.
Robert was also a good little boy last night, unlike somebody who partied too hard on Thursday.
Yeah, but you got to see mess and I didn't.
I did. Mariachi Entertainment System, if you guys find them around. Mariachi Entertainment System is the shit. That concert was so fucking good.
That was part of the campaign to help get them here too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh man. So rule of thumb also at MAGFest, you pace yourself. Don't be like me and not pace yourself. I had a great time. I'm just saying, I found an air mattress, a bathrobe, and a vacuum cleaner last night. It was great. Anyway.
Normally you pay double for that kind of
action.
I
know. So other things, so let me just catch up to speed. We're going over general rule of thumb about portion size for losing weight, gain weight. We're getting into other rules of thumb about fats are okay. You know, don't go hog wild, but don't shy away. And fuck, where did I leave off to? Was it fried foods, right? No fried foods. We're eliminating them, at least on like, you know, go ahead and have them every now and then, but don't go eating fried shit every day. It's just bad for you. Okay, the oils in there are just useless calories. The carbs you get from the batter and everything else, they're not really useful. And when you talk about losing weight or gaining weight, you'll always hear calorie deficit or calorie surplus. Okay, calorie deficit to lose weight, calorie surplus to gain weight. Typically, the average person, they still consider being a 2,000 calorie diet. Yeah, go ahead.
How often is now and then? Once a week? Once a month?
What's that? Deficit?
Just you said don't have fried foods.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're following a specific meal protocol, once a week.
Yeah, once a week. I still have my cheat days of once a week, and I go hog wild, and I do whatever I want. I've literally made a whole tray of brownies and scoffed them down myself. I've not shared any with my kids, and they've wondered what smells so good, and I'm like, my brownies. And I eat. So, you know, just once a week is the good guideline for fried foods. Because one of the things we talk about when we say calorie deficit and calorie surplus is also quality of calorie. You always hear the expressions about quality, not quantity. We apply this to a lot. The same thing applies to calories. People tell you when it's losing weight, oh, it's simple. Just go in calorie deficit. It's so easy. Well, yeah, but if you're taking shit calories in, you're not getting much good result out, no matter how much you go into calorie deficit. So you can still think about calorie deficit as having good quality ingredients and foods that you actually enjoy eating, okay?
Let me bandwagon on that for a second. The calorie deficit thing is very, very true. Weight loss, fat loss, muscle gain, all that kind of stuff. You can totally get away with eating a candy bar diet, but you will not be happy. You'll feel, it'll be awesome that you have Snickers for dinner, and then you will be hungry in 10 minutes.
And enjoy your type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, that's another factor. There was a nutrition instructor at Michigan State that lost like 35 pounds for his students to prove to them that it was calories in, calories out, and he ate protein powder and candy bars just out of the vending machine at his work. And he lost all that weight. Cool, great, fantastic. I'm very curious what his PSA was. I'm very curious what his glucose levels were. There are a lot of other variables to health. And what was the quality of life? Getting to eat Reese's Cups for dinner is really fun the first day or two. And then you start being very unsatisfied.
Yeah, which ties into what we were talking about with approach this from a health standpoint, right? Don't approach this just from losing weight, approach from being healthy standpoint. Yes?
Yeah, a lot of the candy companies let people have as much free candy as they want because they stop wanting it after like 3 days.
Yeah, it just gets to be disgusting after a while. Like, oh, this is so nice. So let's go into typical meal production. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see your hand there. Sorry. Yeah.
So, foods more like lentils and quinoa and like tofu that are, do they kind of like double up as carbs and protein?
So, I look at this way, because I cook a lot of quinoa and brown rice and stuff like that. I don't consider them proteins. I still consider them to be, but I file those under my complex carbohydrates because they do have a slight amount of protein in there. You know, like the 1 or 2 grams that you get from like brown rice, as opposed to like 0 from normal white rice, right? That little bit is what makes it a little bit more longer lasting energy and a little bit more complex for your body to break down. But I would still consider them to be carbohydrates, which is, what's that?
What about like tofu and lentils?
Same thing. I would still file those. For me, even though tofu is like a good protein source, I would still file under like a carbohydrate kind of thing. Yeah.
Jump in there real fast. If you follow nutrition advice and whatnot, you may have seen a lot of people who will say stay away from soy-based proteins. That is really not supported by science. There were a couple of studies that drew some very questionable connections. If you want to avoid tofu and soy protein and whatnot, just to kind of hedge your bets, you're probably not off base. But in general, don't be afraid to have tofu. Don't be afraid to eat edamame and things like that. It's the concerns are grossly overblown.
Yeah.
Then what would be your suggestion for non-meat eaters?
So for a more vegan, vegetarian kind of diet, definitely to get protein sources, definitely supplement with vegan protein powders. Like that is an absolute must, if I'm being honest. There was this recent documentary that came out about a bodybuilder who went completely vegan. It was called Game Changer, right? It's on Netflix. And then there was counterpoints brought up to Game Changer where like some of these are outright lies and this. And the thing about vegan-based diets for protein, things like this, one of the things they'll tell you is like, oh, well, you get the same amount of protein from this, and there are comparisons, and that's true, but it goes back into what I was talking about quality of protein. We say protein in very general terms, but there's so many different forms and types and the branch chains that form proteins that some are very, I don't say they're specifically found in meats, but they're very densely found in meats. So to get those into your body in a more efficient manner, absolutely look into supplementation through vegan-based protein powders.
Typically what you will have to do in a case like that is you'll have to choose multiple powders. You have 16 essential amino acids, 16 dimensional proteins that you cannot get without getting from exogenous sources, without getting from usually meat. You can get them from vegetables, but they will be, you'll get like 6 from pea and 7 from rice, and you'll have to mix them. And you'll
have to eat a lot. Like we're talking to get the same amount of that quality, like mountains of food to get that same amount out. So the benefit of these powders is that the work's done for you.
Right.
Essentially.
Alternatively, if your diet will allow it, eggs.
Yeah. Please eat some fucking eggs. Listen, I understand people going vegan. I'll get to you in a second, man. But people who go vegan and you don't want to eat meat, and especially because of animals and this and that, I get it. I totally understand. I am a guy who hunts though, and I eat a lot of fucking meat. But eat some eggs, okay? They're not fertilized. They're just there, okay? Nature's giving you one of the best compact sources of vitamins and protein available. Eat some fucking eggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on a vegetarian diet, would you say with all the like Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger type stuff?
Those are the worst thing for you. Do not eat the Impossible Burger. Okay, they don't even try. Here's one thing you got to realize about the Impossible Burger. They don't even market that as a healthy alternative to meat. They just say it tastes like meat. The shit they put in there is so horrendously bad for you.
I was
just to get it.
Don't eat it because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's expensive. It's a lot of money, and it is really just not healthy for you. They don't even market it as being healthy. They're just like, so vegans and vegetarians can have something close to tasting like meat, but the shit that goes in there to make that thing taste like meat is awful. Do not do Impossible Burgers. Just have yourself a normal vegetarian black bean and cornmeal based burger. Yes, in the back there.
Yeah, counterpoint about that is red meat has a lot of bad stuff for you too, right? So
Yes.
it's not like beef is perfect food.
No, it's not. Eating like straight beef and carnivore diet and nothing but red meats also has, what is it in there that it can up your creatinine?
How long do we have a panel for?
Oh, not long enough, an hour, but like.
Yeah, red meat's really not very good for you except in small doses.
Yeah, so, and that's, I like to eat, and I eat all kinds of sources, but also chicken's cheap, and it's lean, and it's good. But yes, thank you. To your point, yes. Red meat is not the end-all, be-all solution. Having a steak every night, well, it's great if you're a cattle farmer because you get your meat right from the farm. It's still just your long-term health. It's not the best for you either. Diversity of your diet will be amazing for you. Okay, diversifying what you intake. Don't limit yourself down to 5 or 7 foods only. Diversify as much as you can. Not only will it help you with getting in sources of nutrients, but it enhances your gut biome a lot, And the emerging science behind your gut biome is pretty amazing as to just how many benefits and what your gut biome can do for you, from everything to just healthy living to your mood in general.
Mental health.
Yeah. Just the small ecosystem living inside of your gut, because we're all just walking tubes, okay? We're meat sacks around tubes walking around here, is that there's this whole ecosystem in there, and the healthier that ecosystem is inside of you, the healthier it is for your mental health and everything that you're doing on a daily basis.
To further bandwagon on that, there's emerging evidence, it is not conclusive, but there's emerging evidence that more neurotransmitters are produced in your gut than in your actual brain. The importance of the gut biome, like
Now you're talking my language.
yeah, can really not, I am forgetting to word well, cannot be understated.
So, let's try to break down some typical meals. Oh, I'm sorry, question in the back? Way in the back?
Quick question, do you think there's any link between nutrition or your eating habits and depression?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. 100% between your eating habits and depression.
I have pretty severe depression, and it's something that I've studied extensively. I don't know that there is completely concrete 100% we have the smoking gun connecting them, but as somebody who has done fasting, done keto, done all of that stuff, and been able, anecdotally, I am 100% convinced, and the evidence is mounting that it can.
It's a matter of, nutrition foods you can take, especially when we start to say like, I'm feeling low, I'm just gonna have my comfort foods. And then the next day turns into more comfort foods and more comfort foods. And then you find yourself sliding down that hole in what's easy and quick really fast. So nutrition absolutely ties into it. I wish there was like the exact list that said, hey, put this and this and this together on your plate and all of a sudden happiness, right? It doesn't work like that entirely, right? But that's also the experimentation of yourself. What do you find that gives you more long-term satisfaction instead of immediate gratification is a way to look at it. Rich, did you have a question back there? Yes, no? Rich?
Point I wanted to add.
Yeah.
What's good about the depression thing is that there is a strong link between systemic inflammation in your body and depression, because the inflammation inhibits the ability for dopamine receptors to receive dopamine. Things that normally feel good, so you generally just will not doing stuff that's not right, which leads to long-term depression. So if you look at things that would cause inflammation, like high simple sugar diets, high starch diets, things like that, that's going to lead to a high link to depression.
And we had another question over
Yeah,
here?
there was a lady who had her hand up for like 5 minutes. I'm afraid you may have lost.
I am so blind.
Oh, you're fine.
Back to when you were talking about like carbohydrates and stuff like that, there's always commercials or whatnot saying like, oh, if you completely cut out carbs or this or that, you're gonna lose weight. Someone who likes to really eat, such as myself,
Hell yeah, I love food.
can you still at least have a healthy diet or lose weight if you just eat that stuff moderately?
Yes.
Oh yeah. In fact, I still have my slice of toast with breakfast rather often. I'll have, and I don't know, I try to keep track of it. Like, I don't do macros. If you get into macros, go for it. It's great. I just don't, I get bored and I don't have the fucking time. Okay, I'm busy enough. So going to macros isn't for me. But I'll have like some toast with breakfast. And then maybe at lunch, if I'm having a sandwich, I'll look at it and be like, why don't I just do it open face? And I take like half my bun off, or half, I just cut the portion in half of the carbohydrates, right? And then for dinner, dinner's the easy one. I just stopped eating a lot of pasta-based meals. I stopped having dinner rolls with my dinners. And I just found more gratification in going towards potatoes and things like that, beans, legumes, stuff that still has the same effect, but it's along that complex line rather than, getting that instant gratification from some butter from a crescent roll,
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Two things. One, is that new?
Yeah, this is some newer.
Slick.
It's
That's really
getting
nice.
there.
When we're done with the panel, you'll need to make a line and say
I'm-
that. That's really nice.
Yeah, we're working on that one.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Okay, secondly, I, on the other hand, am the exact opposite. I love counting macros, which makes me sound like the nerd I am. And it works really well for me, and it doesn't work really well for other people. I tried following a very intuitive diet that didn't count macros, and it messed me up, and I just didn't enjoy it. There is a hierarchy of what will work and what will not, and a lot of it will come down to your personal experience and what will work with you. There are people who are in phenomenal shape and low body fat who eat predominantly carbohydrates. Arnold Schwarzenegger famously ate a fairly high carb diet when he was not pre-contest. And so a lot of the rules you will learn about nutrition will have to be tailored to your specific circumstances. And like Mahoney said, everything that will be said has to be filtered through your personal experiences and what will work for you.
Yep, right here.
Since you're a fan of macros, what have you found for a general population that seems to work well just for maintaining base health?
Three-way split.
So a 30, 35, 30?
Yep. Just 30, 35, 30, 30, 30, 40, something like that.
Could you break down what those are of?
What?
For everybody?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, like if you
Well, I mean,
skew
like
a little bit more,
proteins.
yeah, that's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
If you skew a little bit more towards protein, or a little bit more towards fat, or a little bit more towards carbohydrates, you're going to be fine. It will take experimentation for you to find what works for you. But yeah, I've done keto, and I know people that have worked very well for keto, both for general health and for medical health. And keto works great for them. I did not particularly, I enjoyed it, but I did not see much success on it. I have come to the conclusion that just a fairly balanced approach works pretty well, but mileage will vary.
Question back here, yeah?
Is there a benefit to eating more meals in a day, but just like smaller portions?
Slightly grazing, yeah, it depends on your goals. It depends on what you're going for. Yeah, like what's the benefit? Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to bulk up? Or are you trying to just maintain?
Either maintaining or maybe losing weight.
For maintaining or losing, I would not recommend that. I don't know if your take would be different, but traditionally, what I've found is that if you're trying to gain weight, especially if you're trying to really intake a lot of proteins for body repair because you're doing intense physical activity, then you're going to need that fuel more often, and you'll do smaller portions, but just eat, like, there's at one point I was eating like 4 or 5 times a day, but I was trying to bulk up and gain, you know? So it's, for maintaining or losing weight, I would actually not do that. For losing weight, quite the opposite. There's a lot of information out there about intermittent fasting, and it is actually incredibly easy to do. I do not do intermittent fasting just because it's not in line with my goals and what I'm trying to do. But I have researched it, looked into it, and it is incredibly easy for the average person to do intermittent fasting. The easiest way to do it, skip breakfast, have a big old lunch around noon, and then you can eat whatever you want, so that, well, not whatever you want, right? But you can eat at any time and eat your normal meal portions for the next 8 hours. So from noon to 8 p.m. is when you eat. And then after that, you're fasting. And the whole concept behind intermittent fasting is that you have this 8-hour window where you eat, and then the rest you don't. And it's actually incredibly easy. Wake up in the morning, have a cup of black coffee, or whatever you do for your morning ritual. Just make sure there's no calories to it. That's why I say black coffee. There's no calories in it. There's no nothing to it. And then you go to eating, you start around lunch. And if you can push it back a little later because of work or whatever, then fine, start around 1, and then you get 8 hours from there. But it's very easy to do, very easy to maintain on, and has huge benefits. Huge benefits. One of the things that we're noticing from the science behind nutrition and how it can affect your overall life as well is how putting our bodies under a certain amount of duress has benefits at the cellular level for all of us. So intermittent fasting does this by fasting. That's the duress you're putting your body under. You're fasting, you're hungry. And that duress on the cellular level causes your cells to essentially toughen up, for lack of better medical terminology and phrasing. Your cells individually toughen up and become resistant to damage and deterioration. And there are other ways we do this too. Cryotherapy is another one you might hear about a lot, where people go into like super cold plunges for like a minute. And they do this in like nitrous cooled, and it's freaking crazy. But this notion of putting your body under a certain amount of duress has benefits for you in the long term. We noticed that.
Not distress, eustress.
Yes.
No, there's a reason I draw that distinction. You have distress, which is your body is panicking, and eustress is your body is responding to the stress in a healthy and productive manner.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talked about the cellular level. the main thing that happens when you're in a fasted state is your body starts pressing its cells through what's called autophagy, which is where it takes the cells that are older and kind of speeds along their dying and replaces them with the healthy cells. And that has a beneficial effect that it makes your cells generally operate more efficiently. Now back to your question about is fasting good or bad and what are your goals? The reason I asked that was not to be flippant, it's because I did fasting and I loved it. And I didn't just do the 16-hour fasting, I did OMAD, 1 meal a day. Loved it, it was great. Didn't eat all day, felt terrific, got to the end of the day, had a gigantic meal, it was fantastic. Until my wife pointed out I was coming home every day absolutely miserable. And I started tracking my mood, going back to the depression that was asked earlier, and I found out that the fasting was triggering depressive crashes. And I experimented with the longer window of eating earlier in the day, and it didn't make a difference. So I actually went to eating 5 times a day, and my depression has been a lot more managed. This has been the exact opposite for some other people. Other people, fasting has helped keep their depression under wraps. And again, it goes back to Mahoney's major point. A lot of this will come down to your personal experimentation.
And it will take a while to figure out. Like, don't get frustrated after a week or 2 weeks. Like, it takes a while to really figure it out.
Add on to that as well.
Yeah.
So, and I love you, and I'm going to pick on you here for a second.
Yeah.
So, he just said it's going to take a couple of weeks. Without knowing it, how many of you know what patriarchy is? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that only very, very recently exercise science has started to realize, is the idea that you need to give your body a couple of weeks to adjust is born out of assuming everybody is male. Women will need longer, or actually everybody needs longer, but women you absolutely have to give yourself at least a month to monitor changes. Why a month is obvious. When you weigh yourself on a regular basis, you weigh yourself week in and week out and say things like, oh, a week ago I weighed this, a week ago or 2 weeks ago I weighed this. Your body went through some pretty serious hormonal changes in those 2 weeks. You are not comparing yourself to the same place. And so you need at least a month to monitor changes, whether you're talking nutrition, whether you're talking about exercise programs, whether you're talking about medical programs and taking new medicine. You have to be patient and give yourself a little bit longer. You are robbing yourself of recognizing progress by comparing your results too early. Because if you compare yourself, to where you were 2 weeks ago, again, hormonally, you are not in that same place. Water weight gain, any number of hormonal variables, and you will deprive yourself of tracking true progress. So just need to be mindful of that. Think more about 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that kind of a thing. It takes patience, which is frustrating because, damn it, beach season's almost here. It's almost here always sooner than we're ready. I love you. Sorry, I had to pick up.
No, that's fine. I was saying actually pretty much the same thing earlier before you got here.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah. So, I wanted to get into some other things about where to get started with all of this. I'll get to you in just a second because this one's an important thing to point out. Before you start worrying about exactly what kinds of foods and exactly how to count things out and all this, get yourself into the good routine and habit first, okay? So get yourself into the habit of, if you're going to skip breakfast and do the lunch and dinner or whatever else, or what you decide on for yourself, or if you just say okay, I'm gonna commit to cooking meals and eating every meal, 3 meals a day. Commit to doing that first, and don't worry about what kind it is, but spend a good 2 to 3 weeks getting into the habit. Once you make that habit, it'll be easier to keep going, and then you start worrying about what to put into it. So, yes.
Okay, then how often should you weigh yourself? Because I weigh myself every other day, and I panic.
Well, so it's different schools of thought for different goals, all right? The one thing I will say is always weigh yourself at the same time under the same conditions as possible. So for my... Okay, so do it first thing in the morning when you wake up before you have any water or anything else?
I usually do it at night, and I'm always okay, I shouldn't have ate that, or I should have.
So here's my recommendation for you. Number one, stop doing it at night, okay? Because you're weighing yourself after stress of the day and everything that you've done during the day, and maybe you haven't been consistently eating the same meals or nutrition for so long, so it's gonna vary and go crazy a little bit.
I that, and I started that a couple months ago, so
Some ups and downs.
some ups.
Yeah.
And that's making me paranoid, and I'm also stressing out because I didn't bring my scale with me this week.
Well, good. Leave that fucker behind. Throw it in the bathroom for a while. You don't need that thing, all right? We're here. I literally, yeah, I literally have like 24 cookies up in my room right now. I'm gonna chow down, and I don't give a fuck about that scale. Screw that thing, okay? I won't bother weighing myself again until like 2 weeks after this, and then I'll be at the gym in the morning. So one thing to give yourself a little bit more consistency, and if you're worried about it, it's easy for me to tell you not to worry about it, but it's harder for you to actually not worry about it, right? So let me just try to give you a little bit of tips and advice on these things. Do it in the morning, first thing when you wake up. If you have to do it in the morning, first thing when you wake up, so that it's consistent the entire time, right? In terms of you haven't, like first thing in the morning when you wake up, take a pee, go weigh yourself, okay? Because you haven't taken any water, you haven't eaten anything, you're at your fasted, most normal stasis kind of weight before anything else is kicked in, and you're after being well rested, so do it then. The other tip that I would give to you is instead of doing it every other day, if you can get to what we talked about, those habits, right? Forming the habits that help make things easier. If you can get yourself to doing it only once a week and commit yourself to that habit, that's a hard one, right? It's easy for me to tell you. It's very easy for me to tell you. It's very hard to do. So maybe decide like once a week is the goal you get to. So for 1 week, you're gonna say, okay, I'm only gonna do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the next week after that, like I'm gonna do Monday, Wednesday, and leave it at that. And you see how long you can ride that out until you get down to 1 day a week. And it's don't jump immediately to anything. And like I said, these are only suggestions and tips. They are not the absolute end all be all for anything. It's gonna be specific to you. But the minor goals, the small goals that you put in your path to getting to the larger goal are going to be how you really sell yourself on it and how you really get there on it. And then, from there, weight's just data. At some point, we can get inundated with too much data, and it gets in the way of actually worrying about being healthy, right? Because from the beginning, I said it's all about being healthy. Go from a point of being healthy about it all. It can be good to know your weight, for sure, especially if that's your target goal, then you're gonna wanna know about it. But at some point, you've gotta figure, does this really matter towards the entire health picture? Or is this just useless data that's getting preoccupied in the head, right? Though I don't wear a Fitbit for as much as I get into health and stuff. I don't do Fitbits or that much with fitness trackers because it's too much data. I mean, they're gonna start spitting, you slept like shit last night, and oh my God, your heart rate, and are you fucking dead? Like, things like this. It's just too much. It is way too much, all right?
My Fitbit telling me I slept bad. I know I slept
Yeah, I don't need you to tell me these things. So it's fitness trackers and all these other data points that you can get, like, it really, I'm a nerd, I like data points, but at some point I look at that data like, shut the fuck up, and I'm just gonna go work out, all right? And like at some point you gotta simplify it down. Yeah?
I have a very important question.
Yeah.
So, building a good diet is not too hard. Like, I go on the
Yeah.
internet, I find some tutorials on how to make, like, good food. The problem is, they all require me something ridiculous. They all require me to put effort, right? That's insane. So,
They all take time and effort to do.
yeah, and I'm a lazy bum. Like, even
Yeah,
having salad,
you're right up my alley. Yeah.
like, sometimes I just won't do it because it takes too much effort. And the thing about unhealthy food that makes it so convincing and easy to consume is the fact that a lot of time you don't need a lot of.
It's accessible.
Right? Like,
It's right there.
accessible. Yogurt, you just take a spoon and you eat.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese, you just throw it in the
Yeah.
microwave, press a button, and eat.
So meal prep is one of the things I live by. And this is one of those things where like I know. So we're talking about doing a whole lot of effort with your cooking. The fact that foods that aren't really good for you are easily and accessible, right? Peeling open a wrapper and shoving it in your face is pretty quick and easy as compared to actually getting out the cooker and going with it, right? Meal prep is something that I live by, and it takes me a good, if I'm being honest, with dishes and everything else, like 3 hours. But I'll do 3 hours on a Sunday, and I cook everything for the whole week, and it's all done. One of the quickest ways that I do a good healthy breakfast is muffin tin frittatas. They're one of my favorites to do.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said that. I thought I was weird for doing that.
Oh no, they're the best, man.
thank
Muffin tin
God.
frittatas
Okay.
are the best. So muffin tin frittata goes this easy. Get yourself a big old bowl, okay? And you're just gonna crack open, about in my case, 18 eggs. Okay, you're doing a whole lot of fucking eggs all at once. Put them in there, and then you're essentially putting in there whatever you want in it. So I'll brown up some sausage or some beef, and I'll put that in there. I'll saute up some mushrooms, some spinach, dice up some peppers, and I'm mixing it all in this bowl until everything is covered and coated in eggs, okay? Preheat your oven up to like 350. Take your muffin tin out. You might need 1 or 2. I need 2 because I'm cooking so many of them. And then you hose that shit in cooking oil, okay? Do not leave any inch uncovered. If you're making muffin tin frittatas, you will hate yourself, you'll hate life, and you're gonna wanna throw your pans in the smelter, because fuck that, okay? You're just gonna wanna buy new ones.
He's exaggerating.
No, it's fucking pain in the ass. So coat it in oil, cooking oil.
We'll
and
get
then
right
put
to
it,
you.
yeah.
The rant's not done.
No, because it's so fucking annoying. I had like 6 of them that I didn't get the spray in, and it was just all over the place. And then it gets on top of it too, because it cooks over and it goes onto the top of the thing, and you can't get it off there. It's a fucking mess.
You can't clean it because your hand's too goddamn
Oh
big.
yeah, and you just, I hate that. Oh, but they're so good. They're so good. So, I know, but they're so delicious, and they're so easy, because then you take them, pop them out of the muffin tin when they're done. It only takes like 20, 30 minutes, and while those are cooking, you go in and make your next meal or your next side dish. You start the prep work for that. So I'll make those muffin tin frittatas, and I'll have a week or more of little, nice, muffin-sized frittatas, and I can do 2 of them if I want to eat light, 3 of them if I'm feeling really hungry, you know, however many you want, and they're perfectly portioned for you right there. So you can just figure out exactly how many of those you want to eat for your breakfast. Anyway, yes, question back here.
So I was just going to say, I tried those myself, but yes, my first experience was the same.
Yeah, oh, it's a pain in the ass.
I looked it up, and one of the things that was recommended was using silicone cupcake.
Yes, those make things vastly easier.
Just to make it much easier.
They do, because they can fold right out, and you can just reuse the silicone linings all you want. So those are things you'll find in your cooking stores. You won't find them in normal grocery stores, or maybe they have them, I don't know. Depends on how swanky your grocer is. So, Michael's, yes, that's right.
Didn't Michael's just close?
No, you're thinking the other one.
Oh, okay.
AC Moore.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
They have the little cookie ones too, but I think they have like regular muffins.
Yeah.
Hang on, we buried the lead there. Are you telling me that I can get like
Cooking supplies at Michael's, yeah.
Fuck me.
I know, it's been hidden I didn't know it for the longest time, and then I found them there.
Because if I can get like my little frittata thing shaped like Star Wars characters.
Oh, poop emojis. I'll eat shit eggs. It's great.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care that I'm 39, goddammit.
Poop out some
I want
eggs.
a Garfield-shaped frittata.
Oh, actually, that's fine. Let me go way in the back here. Oh yeah, they always get
No,
coupons.
my wife has that covered. She's the adult in the family.
They always do coupons. Great.
I think that and also like the meal prep and making things easier.
Yeah.
First of all, rice cooker. I think every home should have one.
Rice cookers and slow cookers.
Super easy.
Yeah.
But what other appliances would you say are just like great to have if you're trying to?
So recently, it depends on how many people are in your house. Air fryer is really good because it does everything quick, and sous vide cooker. Okay, sous vide cooker. I've recently gotten into doing that, and the beauty of it is you can never overcook anything because it will only ever get to the exact temperature, and it never gets any higher. All right. Yeah, you'll find a way. And I've found that with a sous vide cooker, you can take the toughest hunks of meat that you get from the discount section at the store, and everything's tender. I've turned a chuck roast into something as tender as prime rib with a sous vide cooker, right? And you season it up right and do everything else great. It works out great. And it's a nice one to experiment with. That one, okay, so the bummer with that one is that they can get costly. It takes a while, but the benefit is that you kind of like put it in there and forget about it. Like some of these recipes will be like, you got to put this thing in for like 6 hours or more, blah, blah, blah. I found they exaggerate that. And they really take advantage of the fact that you can't overcook with a sous vide cooker, right? You cannot overcook it.
What's his name go? I had a follow-up question.
Oh, I don't know. For the preparation? I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, between air fryer, pressure cooker, slow cooker, and sous vide, I'm using my oven less and less and less. And I'm honestly using all these small little appliance things a whole lot more. And their benefit is they work while you do other things, right? And they turn out really good recipes, really quick and easy things. And they all work towards, making some healthy foods. and always a nice skillet. You know, one of those.
Do you have a cookbook or any websites that you recommend, like for good healthy recipes?
I would actually recommend Alton Brown's I'm Just Here for the Food. I'm not done, you can applaud later. Alton Brown's I'm Just Here for the Food is not a cookbook, it is a chemistry book. The idea behind it, and I'm being facetious there, it is a cookbook, but it teaches you that cooking is just the application of heat, and it teaches you to understand that you are applying heat to materials, and once you understand the materials and the heat application methods you're talking about, you really can just kind of invent recipes.
Yeah.
And that would be what I would recommend. Once you understand kind of chemically and physically what an oven is doing versus a frying pan, that kind of a thing, cooking just blossoms, and in a lot of ways you stop needing recipes. You just know I'm working with venison versus beef versus eggs versus whatever. And it's gotten to the point where I actually enjoy cooking, which is good because nobody else in my family does. And because I get to do like a little chemistry experiment.
Yeah.
And if it goes well, everybody's happy. And if it doesn't go well, I get to eat their food. So
Yeah, I'm horrible about cooking book recommendations because I never really started using one. I just started experimenting with food, and you try different things and you figure out for yourself, okay, this is savory. So what goes well with my savories? You know, what's gonna blend in well with that? Or do I need some spice to complement it, right, to set things off? And I just approach it from that experimental standpoint, which I highly recommend to anybody. Like, start cooking some ingredients and don't be afraid to fail here and there.
Can I jump in here real fast?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I keep running over you and I apologize. So also, how many of you have a food you absolutely hate from childhood? Okay.
Try
excellent.
it again.
Try it.
Yeah.
Now. I hated beans. And I still hate baked beans. I will kick you in the nuts if you tell me baked beans are good. You are wrong. But like I re-experimented with like black beans and chilies and that kind of stuff. I love black beans now because I learned how to cook them. I had them just cooked poorly. And once I learned to cook them right, I absolutely love black beans now. So try experimenting with foods you didn't like and you may discover a new way to love them.
Hold on, I gotta get a gentleman in the back here in the orange. Yep.
You mentioned about like not recommending a cookbook per se. The Flavor Bible is literally just a book filled with, hey, this thing goes with this thing. And that's all it is.
Yeah, the Flavor Bible that he's mentioning there. Yes. Yeah.
Ratios, which tells you like this much of this thing goes with this much of this thing to make a thing.
Yes, and it will come a point where you realize that like too much garlic powder has added too much salt to your dish. You know, think of this like, when I do seasonings, I don't measure my seasonings out. I literally just sprinkle it on. I'm like, that looks good. And that's enough. You just cook it in, you know. Same way like grandma used to cook them here. You had a question here?
I just had a comment. Brussels sprouts, boiled versus baked.
Fucking amazing. Bake them. They're fucking great. Okay, listen. Here's my Brussels sprout recipe. You got to get that shit straight off the stalk. Okay, don't go buying it in the frozen bag in the store. Get it straight off the stalk in the produce section. Okay, rip them right off. Cut them in half. Put them on a pan. Put some avocado oil over them, or extra virgin olive oil, either or. But I prefer avocado oil. Put it on there. Crumpled up bacon. Drizzle that. Sprinkle that on top, and then sprinkle over some freshly shaved Parmesan cheese. A sharp cheese. If you're not a Parmesan person, just a cheese that's sharp, because, and this is the flavor contrast that you find from experimenting, what I was talking about, how you identify your foods, right? How do you identify savory versus salty for this? So for me, Brussels sprouts, in and of itself, I find to be a very mellow flavor on Brussels sprouts. So adding sharp with the cheese is what picks it up a lot. And you put that on top, and as it all bakes, you put it in the oven for 350, and you go until you hear some sizzling, really is how I do it. And all that just soaks into all the leaves, because you got them cut open in half, and it's so good. It tenderizes the whole thing out. You didn't think that you had to tenderize a Brussels sprout until you cooked it that way, and it's fucking amazing. I love it. Somebody else had a question. Yeah?
Just a comment on the seasoning thing. Something I learned the hard way. You can always add more seasoning later, but
Yes.
you can take it away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Extra salt that you need because then you have the disaster that I made.
Yeah. Where like it burns on your tongue because it's got so much salt. Yeah. Oh, and go easy with your cornstarch on thickening if you're making your own stews and soups at home. I had stew jello in my refrigerator the next day. Yeah. It's fucking. Yeah. Yeah. So we went with breakfast and ways to do that. Other easy breakfast recipes to get you guys going. For those of you who decide you want to have breakfast as a meal. Overnight oats. Very easy, very healthy for you. You can look those up online. There's 1,000,001 different recipes, and essentially involves straight raw oats. Don't get prepackaged sugar-filled shit. Get like stone-cut old oats, like good whole cuts of oats. Put some yogurt in there. I prefer Greek yogurt, okay? And then some fruit, and you literally let it sit overnight, and the oats just soak up the yogurt. And it's nice, soft, and tender, and you serve it cold. Done. Let's see here. I am always still a fan of steak and eggs with some spinach for breakfast. I love that shit. Lunch. So lunch and dinner for me go more into meal prep time and what I do there. Slow cooker absolutely helps. Very easy if you have a slow cooker to throw in a couple chicken breasts, a jar of salsa, and a can of black beans. Or in Robert's case, you might prep your own black beans first. And you have instant chicken salsa salad, taco salad, whatever, I don't know, fuck ever you want to call it. It's just Mexican chicken shit, for all I know, all right? And I have that for like 5 days, and you can mix that. Let's see here. Other slow cooker, always like any whole cut of meat, you can just throw in a slow cooker and shred it. After a while, it does get boring, so you might want to change it up with some things. I've found that experimenting with vegetables and how you saute up vegetables is fantastic. One of my favorite ways to keep having chicken breast all the time, because it's cheap. Like I said, it's literally like $1.99 a pound in most stores. And you get tired of having so much whole cuts of chicken breast. But you do it with like green squash, I want to say. Green yellow squash.
Look at me.
I don't know what the fuck this is.
Any vegetable named after a verb.
Slice it into spears, salt, pepper, butter in the pan, and you just sear up the sides a little bit, and you put those in a sandwich even with some chicken, and it's very refreshing. You think chicken breast is normally dry, so this is the other complementary thing, right? Chicken breast is a dry piece of meat to serve. What can I do to work on that texture a little bit? Well, then I do it with squash spears, way in the back.
Are there any fad diets that you do like?
Fad diets that I do like? Fuck no. I don't. This guy does, but I shy away from fad diets like crazy. And I don't know, maybe to that end, like intermittent fasting, if you consider it a fad, then yes, I'm in favor of that one, right? But I think there's so much science behind it, and it's not based on somebody's book sales about intermittent fasting, right? God, well, you go ahead and give your point. I'm going to try to think.
No problem. Any diet that will help a person eat healthy, I'm a fan of. The thing is 80% of all diets that are healthy are the same thing. They all come down to adequate levels of protein, curb your sugar intake, drink lots of water, and eat more vegetables. That's 80% of all healthy diets. The remaining 20% is where people fail or succeed. Do you have complex carbs, or do you eschew carbs entirely? Do you have dairy? Do you eschew dairy, et cetera, that kind of thing. And so fad diets constantly, healthy ones, constantly repackage that 80% and change around the 20%, and that helps people find what will work for them. The only problem is when they say, we're better, and they're not better, they might be better for you right now. What worked for me 10 years ago doesn't work for me really well. I used to have a cheat day, and I loved it, and it was great, and I did fine on it, but I wasn't able to achieve certain goals that I wanted, and so I've left it behind. And I'm planning to go back to it eventually once I get my six-pack, because I'm vain. But why lie? But just because it worked for you in the past doesn't mean it will work for you now. Just because it worked for you doesn't mean it will work for somebody else. Just because it worked for you for one goal doesn't mean it won't work for you for another goal. But anything that will still be, if they start talking about eschewing vegetables, don't trust it.
Yeah.
If they want you to purge an entire food group,
don't do that.
Be skeptical at the very least.
Yeah. So, because remember, there are things in your body that still need it. So when we say like limit sugar, if you were to cut sugar out completely, that'd be so bad for you, because your brain relies on sugar. It runs on sugar. This slab of bacon up here with barely enough electricity for an LED runs on sugar. Now don't go pounding down candy bars, but don't go cutting sugar out entirely, right? Everything's in a balance. So we only have a few minutes left. So I want to really quick grind through just some quick nutrition advice generalizations when it comes time for you thinking about your meals, all right? And Robert will correct me along the way, I'm sure. But number one is what I like to tell people is no ground meats and no deli meats, okay? Or at least when you're going out. If you're doing ground meats at home for like your own chili, your own burgers and everything else, have at it because you know what the fat content is. When you're going out to eat at a restaurant, you have no idea what level of meat, what fat content, how much sodium is going into that burger, or how much sodium has been put into that whole hunk of ham that they're slicing off for your ham sandwich at the deli, okay? So you've got to get rid of those. Whole cuts of meat are always preferred because with a whole cut of meat, you can identify like, maybe I don't want to eat this huge line of fat on here tonight. I'll leave that out, right? So it's very easy to spot and acknowledge these things on whole cuts of meat. We already went over portion size on your plate for weight loss versus weight gain, what you should strive for, half vegetables and all that good stuff. We discussed eliminating fried foods. We really want to get rid of fried foods. Get rid of soda. Get rid of soda. I will not begrudge you like the drink every now and then, and I will not begrudge you the occasional rum and Coke. I mean, I'm fucking drinking my ass off this weekend, so. But get rid of soda on your daily basis. Like no more sodas, no more energy drinks, okay?
The soda thing is also really important, not just because in and of itself it's kind of bad. Soda is also a diuretic, which means it will dehydrate you. Little bit is fine. If you're at a amusement park and you're thirsty, do not get a Coke. It will make things worse. That is deliberate.
Because they want you to keep coming back for more and more and more.
Right.
Get yourself a water bottle and start filling it up, okay? Even from your own tap and everything else. Like, there's no reason not to fill this thing up. Or
I've had this for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I buy one, I buy it and just refill it.
Just keep.
Get rid of it eventually.
Yeah.
So this starts getting grody.
If you can, get yourself I'm upgrading mine when I get back to be a stainless steel one because they're easier to wash out. They stay cleaner. They stay healthier for you. They don't get bacteria buildup. But get yourself a water bottle and fill it from your tap and drink away, man. Like the other stuff that you can intake out there, just not as good for you. And what we talk about with quality of calorie that you intake is vastly important, okay? I still have my protein shakes and other things, so I'm not doing like water only as my only liquid. That's not how it works. I still drink my coffee. I'll still have a Starbucks every now and then. But just not religiously, right? And I'm not pounding down energy drinks before my gaming sessions. Those are the last things you should be drinking is energy drinks. If you go on the back of that thing and you look on there on an energy drink, the average one has like 24 grams of sugar in it or more. If you were to hold 24 grams of sugar in your hand, there's no way. You would look at it and be grossed the fuck out looking at 24 grams of sugar. And you can't comprehend how it even fits in a can that size. All right, but it all gets diluted down. Get rid of energy drinks. If there's one thing I had to say, like take down to zero, get rid of them, energy drinks. They are no good for you. Now, we had a discussion at least one point with somebody in one of our groups about things like 5-hour energy shots and things like this. The difference there, yeah, he lives by them, and that's fine, because guess what? The calorie intake from a 5-hour energy is only like 100-something calories, if that. What is it, 3, 4? Fucking shit, man. Well, anyway, the thing about some of these energy shots too is, number one, there was the person who was talking about this and asking like, hey, what should I do about this? Is what I do? Well, there are a couple things that happened. If she had the 5-hour energy drink, she was more willing to go to the gym and get her exercise in. And she was feeling better, mentally for the rest of the day. So you look at it.
What's that? It was like Red Bull or something.
No, it was a 5-hour.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I don't think I was involved with this one.
Yeah, you were, because you swore, you were like, I take that shit every day.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I am.
Yeah.
I'm a die-hard fan of it.
Yeah. Well, the concept is this. If it makes you more inclined to go do physical fitness and physical activity, then do it, because you're going to burn it off through your physical fitness regimen anyway. And if it puts you in a better mental state to accomplish other tasks, then do it, okay? Like I said, these are guidelines, okay? Nothing here is like set in stone. But there are certain things we can do to make our nutrition levels better, and especially carrying on through our gaming habits. Snack-wise, for your game habits, check your protein bars, okay? That shit is such a marketing scam among some of them. Cliff Bars are the worst, okay? Cliff Bars are the worst. They're like 24 grams of sugar and 8 grams of protein. That is a sugar-coated peanut. Stop fucking lying to me.
To be honest, there's more protein in a Snickers bar.
Yeah. Like,
seriously.
yeah. Cliff Bars are the worst scam for healthy foods and healthy snacks.
Yeah.
Do not do them. Like, check that out and look at them. I usually look for, I'd like to say there's like a golden ratio that works, right? But it always varies and depends. My guideline, so long as protein is either at the same or more than how much sugar.
To be fair, hang on one second.
To be fair.
Who was fantastic, and thank you for that. I'm actually in here next. So
it's his panel next, so we can bleed over a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If y'all are cool with that, if y'all are okay, all right.
Do you have anybody waiting outside for you though?
Probably not.
Yeah, I didn't think about this one.
I'm sure it's
Fucking
Real World
people
Street
line
Fighter
up.
next.
Yeah.
But you don't have to like rage quit, buddy.
Yeah.
Just like screw this.
Maybe
shit.
he's checking for you.
Okay.
Maybe he's checking for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. But
I thought I like angered him. I was like, I'm sorry.
Where did I leave off on guidelines of stuff we were talking about?
The protein, the golden.
Oh yeah.
Protein.
Yes. So try to make sure that the protein and sugar are either at the same level or more protein than sugar. So long as you have more protein in that snack bar than there is sugar, you're doing okay. Let's make sure those numbers aren't outrageous though.
Let me bandwagon on that. You had asked a bit earlier about whether or not something counted as a protein or a carb and that kind of thing. I have kind of the same metric with protein bars as I do with any food source, and that is if the protein macro is higher than 1/10 of the calories, meaning if the protein bar is 100 calories and there's 10 grams of protein or more, I consider it a good protein bar. If it's fewer, I do not. That is a personal thing that I have determined for myself. Other people have different ratios. If a food source has more, is 10 grams of protein and 100 calories, I consider that kind of a protein source. Personal decision on my part.
Yeah. For me, I look at it when I think of my snack items, the things that I eat in between my meals. I do not begrudge myself so long as I'm doing a healthy snack. One of my favorite healthy snacks to do, I have this big old jar that I've filled up with pumpkin seeds, almonds, and raisins. And you can start mixing in whatever you want. I think I even have like dried blueberries in there too. But it's just dried out fruits and nuts and things like this that'll last, and seeds. Just a handful and a scoop of that. That's okay. That's totally fine. There's nothing in it that's really bad for you. And if I'm just doing that just to take the edge off of being a little hungry before I actually have a meal, that's okay. Yeah, please.
So that works great for him. I will eat 10,000 calories that way without batting an eyelash. And you have to learn the particular tricks for you. Some people, that kind of thing will be fine. For my wife and I, once I start eating like that, and I'm not joking, I'll eat an entire tin of peanuts in about 20 minutes that way. And
I should specify, I never keep that thing on my desk when I'm gaming. Okay, it is in the kitchen. I have to physically get up, walk over, unsecure the lid, get my handful out, secure the lid back on, and go away. Okay, that's how I've approached it. Because those extra steps to get to it are just like, no, I'm gonna fire up my next match of Overwatch and fuck off with the snacks, that kind of thing. So healthy snacks don't ever really feel bad. Watch out for the sugars in those fruits. Okay, fruits are good for you. They got a lot of good stuff, but man, it can rack up really fast. One of my favorites, I'm trying to gain weight, so if you were to do this recipe, you'd probably do this as a meal replacement. But for me to get extra protein and vitamins and everything else, one of my favorite things to do is, in my blender, banana, blueberries, Greek yogurt, a scoop of protein powder, chocolate flavored protein powder, and I also now put in there turmeric. Turmeric is a really good spice that they say reduces inflammation. They found this a lot with Indian people and their food because they like putting turmeric in their food a lot, that they've had noticeably lower levels of inflammation, and they believe it's from the spice turmeric. I'll put that in there, and milk, blend it all up, and it's a fuck ton of protein in there, because I'm pushing around, in just that alone, I'm pushing somewhere around 56, almost somewhere to high 50s to 60 grams of protein alone in just that one drink. And it's a pretty hefty size and everything else. So if you're trying to lose weight, that's a very wholesome, tasty meal replacement kind of thing. You could down one of those for lunch and you'd be set really well. And that's just all experimentation. Find out what flavors go well together. I've even been known to put half an avocado in there one day just for the fuck of it. Mellowed everything out and made it like thick. T-H-I-C-C-C-C-C, thick. And, but it was good. So, all right, did anybody check and see if there's, could somebody check outside and see if there's a line for Robert's next panel? Oh, you did? Is there?
Yeah, didn't you? Yeah, he was like, yeah, no.
Okay, so, any other questions? Oh my God, okay. Yes, you're right here. Yeah.
Would you suggest pizza for aspiring Ninja Turtles?
Well, possible. I mean, if they're growing exponentially beyond their normal size, yes. You're gonna need a lot of carb energy, and the dairy fats are actually good for you.